That's what to pray and say in the morning. Good morning, 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 good morning. Good morning, Grenada, Caracou, PT Martinique is the start of a brand new week here. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Hope everybody had a blessed weekend. It is Monday, July 27th, 2020. Happy to have each and every one of you tuning in this morning. We had an eventful weekend and most of us survived. Amen. All praises to God. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to all the folks joining us on the GBN Television Facebook page, the Grenada Broadcasting Network's YouTube channel, those of you on the website www.gbn.gd, those of you watching on GBN TV channel 7, 11 and 20, and of course the loyal listeners of Classic 105.5, 105.9, Hot 98.5, 98.7. Good morning to all the folks joining us across the Caribbean, whichever part of the region you are this morning, whether you're down south, whether you're up north, whether you're further east than most of us, whichever part of the region you are. Good morning to you. Those of you joining us internationally as well, good morning to each and every one of you. Happy to know that you're spending the waking hours of your Monday with us, or whether it's the middle of the day or almost to the end of the day. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Hope you will have a good day, are having a good day, have had a good day. That should cover everybody. All right, let's do this. It's time for Word of the Day here on the program. This morning's Word of the Day is coffers. Coffers. C-O-F-F-E-R-S. Coffers. It's a noun which means funds, especially of a government or corporation. Coffers. The English word is the plural of coffer, which means box or chest. The Middle English word had the same senses in the singular and plural. The Middle English comes from the Old French word as well as from Latin. It is also from the Old French word, which means basket or coffer. Coffers entered English in the 13th century. Word of the day, coffers, C-O-F-F-E-R-S. It's a noun which means funds, especially of a government or corporation. An example of the use of the word: the team required shareholders to buy 6 season tickets, hoping to fill the bleachers and the coffers in a single go. Another example of the use of the word: to promote candidates, we fill campaign coffers and gather sophisticated data about supporters. Word of the day this morning, coffers, C-O-F-F-E-R-S, and plural noun which means funds, especially of a government or corporation. And as you go about your first day of the working week, the thought of the day: with a new day comes new strength and new thoughts. With the new day comes new strength and new thoughts. We're starting a new week. It's the final week of July 2020. Yes. Speed up 2020. Speed up. It's the final week of July 2020. It's an opportunity to start afresh, start anew, bring new thoughts, bring new ideas, new goals that you may want to accomplish for the week or even for a long time. But it's the start of a new week. So start afresh. With a new day comes new strength and new thoughts. All right, let's see what is celebrated today. Not much that we may be interested in. I'll just highlight a few. Today it is Creme Brulee Day. You know, the dessert, that tasty, smooth, custardy dessert. It is also Scotch Day, for those of you who enjoy a nice glass of scotch. And today it is also Love is Kind Day. Love is Kind Day is the day to celebrate independence from the abuser. It is celebrated on July 17th and is a day to celebrate for all victims of domestic violence or domestic abuse their freedom and independence from their abuser. It is also the day to celebrate or to recognize our right to be treated with kindness. It is a day to realize that kindness is a path of healthy and safer relationships, families, society, and the world. It is a day to give voice for and hope and support to others who are still suffering, often in silence. It is also a day to spread messages how we can be kind to one another, especially to those closest to us. And it is also a day to remember that love is not abusive, violent, demeaning, or dehumanizing. If someone uses love as an excuse for their hurtful behavior, it is not real love. If someone uses love as an excuse for their hurtful behavior, it is not real love. If someone uses love as an excuse for their hurtful behavior, it is not real love. So today we remember all those who have suffered, who are suffering, and maybe even those who may suffer from domestic violence or domestic abuse. It is Love is Kind Day. Most of us may know one or more people who have suffered at the hands of an abuser. Reach out a hand today. You don't necessarily have to remind them of the thoughts, but just say hi, morning, sending some love to you, and that's it. No need to remind them of what they went through, depending on the relationship you all share, that is. But just reach out a hand today. It is not an easy thing to go through it, and it's not an easy thing, the aftermath. So reach out a hand today being Love is Kind Day. All right, let's see what needs to be shared. Over the weekend, we were spared Tropical Storm Gonzalo. They say God is a Grenadian. Let's hope that was the reason. But we were spared the wrath of Tropical Storm Gonzalo. However, do not get complacent. There are other systems just behind Gonzalo. For one, Grenada is experiencing one currently, parts of the island, that is a tropical wave, not a storm, a tropical wave. And another depression, folks in the Lesser Antilles are being advised to monitor activities in the east, to the east of Grenada. A tropical wave is expected to affect the island from midweek around Wednesday, God willing, and it is expected to bring heavy rains with it. So do not rest. There are more weather systems just on the tail to the east of Grenada, making its way to the west, and we should be getting some more rains for the most, if not all, of this week. So those of you who live in flood-prone areas, please be mindful. Those of you who are in areas that are prone to landslides as well, land slippages, please be mindful that Grenada is expecting a wet week. I'm going to call it a wet week. A reminder as well, for those of you who may have missed it over the weekend, the Ministry of Health has advised of the relocation of health services from the Tivoli Medical Station to the Hermitage Medical Station. The medical station has been relocated pending completion of remedial work at the Tivoli Medical Station. So the ministry reassures residents of Tivoli and surrounding areas affected that they are trying their hardest to restore services at Tivoli Medical Station. But in the meantime, if you need assistance, medical assistance, visit the Hermitage Medical Station. And finally, over the weekend, a former teacher of mine reminded me or encouraged me to share with parents and students who are currently sitting CSEC exams that there is an exam scheduled. Exam started July 13th and they go until next month, God willing. But there is an exam scheduled for this Monday, which is August 3rd, Emancipation Day. It's a public holiday, but there is still CSEC exams that day. The exams scheduled for Monday, God willing, are chemistry, biology, and French. So if you are a student or you know a student who needs to sit those exams, you have to make arrangements to get transportation to and from the exam center. But the bus schedule is already coconeous, and being a public holiday, you can only imagine there may be very few, if any, buses on the road on Monday. So start making arrangements now to get your child or children to those exams on Monday, God willing. I don't want you running helter-skelter looking for a ride first thing Monday. So again, those CSEC students who need to sit chemistry, biology, and French CSEC exams on Monday, God willing, it is a public holiday. Be reminded that you need to source your transportation to and from the exam center. Okay, it is now time for the news. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Good Morning Grenada. Let's get right into the news. This is Classic GBN Hot 98. Stick and stay. We'll be right back.
This is what I pray and say in the morning. The blood of Jesus over your family.
Police are awaiting the autopsy reports conducted on Tuesday on the bodies of 3 individuals who died in Monday's vehicular collision in St. David. The latest vehicular accident brings the total number of road fatalities to 5 for 2020. Terry and Blackman-Stephen picks up this report.
3 lives lost and 2 people nursing severe injuries, 1 considered to be in critical condition. And this following a vehicular collision involving a passenger bus and a garbage disposal truck along the Westerhall St. David Main Road on Monday. The scene at Westerhall St. David just before 4 o'clock was one of horror. The accident claimed the lives of Kimberly Felix, 40-years-old lab technician of Crochet St. Andrew, Rosie or Roxy Batiste, 48-years-old janitor of Lassaget St. David, and Alistair Andrew, 28-years-old logistic clerk of Post Royal St. Andrew. Both Felix and Batiste were pronounced dead on the scene, while Andrew died at the General Hospital. GBN spoke with one man who did not wish to be identified, but told us the story of what he saw.
I was standing on the side of the bridge, and same time now, the bus bypass man coming up, but same time I turn now, I hear this loud screaming, but same time I look up now, I see a truck was coming down. And same time the truck was coming down after he came the corner, just cut across the road. And same time the bus was coming up and the truck just hit the bus and turned it on the side. Same time I reach up here, driver come out, conductor come out, the next man in the front seat come out. And he started to get on and thing. Well, he ran down in front by the truck man there and started cuss and jam. And everybody saying, call the ambulance, call the ambulance. I come, I see the woman lie down there. Like she don't die already, one in the back seat.
Cries from close family and friends who rushed to the scene echoed as they grappled with what unfolded before them. GBN spoke with the brother of one of the victims, he identified as Roxy. He said despite being told his sister died in the accident, he did not believe it.
The guy that working with me called me and tell me come here. When I go out to him, he asked me for no sister number. I said yes. You understand? And he tell me call her. So when I call, I wasn't getting in. He tell me what happened. I said the phone just ringing right. Nobody picking up. You understand? And then he said to me, be strong, but sad news for you. I said, what happened? So I thought he joking because he like to make a joke and thing with me. So I thought he joking. And then he tell me about the accident down here, which I didn't know about the accident already. Because since we don't work, we heard about the accident. And then he tell me, my sister die. You understand? He tell me Roxy die.
He further told GBN that while he had not seen his sister in a while, they communicated regularly via telephone.
Up to yesterday, I was showing somebody the text. I showed them a while ago. Up to yesterday, she write me on WhatsApp and asking me if all is well or something like that. You understand? I have it on my phone, I could read it, get it and read it. Just yesterday, you know, hi, how you doing today? You understand? Hope all is well with you. Have a great afternoon. You understand? Yesterday. You understand? Yesterday evening. You understand? And look today now, she died in an accident. You understand?
This latest vehicular accident brings the number of road fatalities to 5 for 2020. Cherry and Blackman-Stephen, GBN News.
Several people traveled to the site of Monday's fatal accident in Westerhall for a candlelight vigil in honor of the 3 people who died. GBN's Rena Pear attended on Wednesday and has this report.
I'm presently standing in front of the site where 3 individuals lost their lives on Monday due to a tragic vehicle accident. This evening, many are gathered to hold a candlelight vigil in the memory of Kimberly Felix, Rosie Batiste, and Alistair Andrew. Family members, co-workers, friends, and bus operators from the Eastern Main Road came out with candles, flowers, and pictures to be placed at the accident site just a few few feet away from the Westerhall gas station. It's 3 days since the incident, and a great show of love and support was displayed at the vigil. Many could be seen in tears and grief as they lit candles and sang in memory of those they lost. Daughter of Rosie Batiste, one of the women who lost her life on Monday, said the last thing her mom told her was that she was on her way home.
She went to work. I was home waiting for her. So in the morning, she called me just before she left for work to come back home. And that was about like 2 something. I realized I have a couple of messages and missed calls and stuff. So I called back because I realized my sister-in-law was trying to get to me. So I called her. Then she told me, she asked me for mommy. So I told her, well, mommy go to work, but she called me already. She on her way back home. And she was like, well, I don't know how to tell you that, but he had an accident, and from the looks of it, they swear it's my mother this today, and it don't look like she could make it. So I said, my mother? I said, no, it can't be because I just finished speaking to her.
Parliamentary Representative for St. David, Oliver Joseph, and advisor to the Minister of Tourism, Brenda Hood, were among the many who turned up to show support to the families. In addressing those attending the vigil, husband of Kimberly Felix, who also died in the accident, expressed gratitude for the support of the people.
This is what is really keeping me, I know, strong because of the support that I'm receiving from you all. Right? So it tells me that we are a good community still, and we all in this together and hope that good sense prevail at the end. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long.
It is indeed a sad evening here in Westerhall, St. David's, for family and friends who lost their loved ones on Monday, tragically due to a vehicle accident. Standing outside this candlelight vigil, I am Rena Pear, reporting for GBN News.
Now, health officials have welcomed the news that the 3 Trinidadian nationals who were repatriated from Grenada last week are COVID-19 free. This comes after initial positive results were confirmed by the Ministry of Health in Trinidad on their arrival at the PRCO International Airport. Here's another report from Rena Pear.
All 3 Trinidadians tested negative for COVID-19. That's the good news coming from the Ministry of Health in Grenada after receiving confirmation from official authorities in Trinidad and Tobago. The 3 men have been tested twice since the first test was conducted on Friday, July 17th, and the individuals are no longer being held in quarantine in Trinidad. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell said he was not surprised by the results.
That did not surprise me, the latest information. In fact, I think we should have been more careful of accepting what was the initial report of positive tests of 3 persons. But of course, since it was said, we had to give it some importance. So that's good news in a sense.
The Ministry of Health says it welcomes this development and confirms its contact tracing efforts since the initial announcement by Trinidad and Tobago. In the last few days, the contact tracing team tested 145 persons in Grenada who were in contact with the 3 repatriated Trinidadians, and all have since tested negative on both CPR and IgG. The Prime Minister stated that while all this is good news, we should not let our guard down, as the virus still poses a threat to the island.
We cannot drop our guard, so to speak, because I think with the opening of the border, there's a possibility, and I can't tell we can't. So far, we have been very lucky, but we can't depend on luck. We have to put all systems in place, like I indicated earlier on, to ensure that we can manage any problems that we have in the future.
Prime Minister Mitchell was speaking on GBN's To The Point program with host Blossom Alexis-Welsh. For GBN News, I am Rena Pear reporting.
The conversation on regional air transport developed from the challenges and issues that arise to the future and potential outcomes. The discussion hovered around when Caribbean citizens can also expect safe, affordable, and reliable air transport, given the current situation with LIAT. Jared Joseph has the details.
Vincentian Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves says he has identified 4 air carriers that can fill the gap left by LIAT's announcement to liquidate. Caribbean Airlines, he says, have claimed it's capable of covering 70 to 80% of LIAT's pre-COVID routes, while Inter-Caribbean, held up by bureaucracy, is seeking to expand its network in the southern and eastern Caribbean. One Caribbean and SVG Air plus other investors and possibly LIAT 2020, Prime Minister Gonsalves says can fill the void and work towards a prime market which incorporates non-profitable routes among others.
So it has to be an interplay between the air carriers themselves in the region, have to do with investment and marketing decisions, and also what the governments would do. And critically, in all of this, there have to be supportive government policies. Like St. Vincent and Grenadines, we have already cut our taxes from 40 US to 20 US. We have Grenada has announced that they're doing that.
Director General of the Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority, Donald McPhail, says the ease of approval for new airlines depends on the size of the operator and the type of aircraft.
For example, if it's an operator like LIAT's, the fleet consists of one particular type, it would be a lot quicker than an airline that may have 5, 6 different types of airplane. In that case, though, we can fast track the process by looking at the type of aircraft that the airline proposes to operate in the area. So let's say Inter-Caribbean says, okay, it would use ATRs. We just look at the maintenance with respect to ATRs, the crew qualification, the engineer's qualification, and that's basically it.
A live poll was conducted using regional radio stations in which GBN's Classic 105 participated, and most people agreed to LIAT being liquidated while calling for more competition and affordable airfares. I am Jared Joseph for GBN News.
Grenada has recorded its 13th homicide. Friday night's killing in Guave have villagers pleading for empathy for one young man. The details in this report.
Villagers of the fishing capital Guave are petitioning the relevant authority to consider the circumstances and exercise some leniency on the accused. This follows Friday night's murder of Derek Francois, a young man in his mid-30s in Guave St. John. This latest murder comes 8 days following 2 murders in St. Andrew and St. David. Following a police shooting in the area 3 weeks ago, villagers say this is not the kind of news they want out there. One villager, who says she knew both individuals, described the incident as unfortunate, as both the accused and deceased were friends. She was among those calling for empathy for the father of 2.
Growing up in the village of Guave, that's where I live, and I know them very well. But it's so unfortunate what happened last night. My sympathy goes out to the 2 parties. I have to say, I wish Kestron get bail. I will go by the courthouse and plead for bail if I have to, because he deserves bail.
We're asking for bail or whatever for Kestron child. Kes. I hope people know him as Kes.
An eyewitness who claimed to be friendly with the accused said the incident started in this area called Gun Battle that led to the unfortunate occurrence later that evening. Something they say should not have happened.
Derek was my good friend. Actually, well, I was there from the start when the little scuffling and the little thing. This could avoid because he and Kestron, Derek and Kestron is good friends. And whatever little thing they had was nothing where two of them was fighting or they had anything to say. Something that happened to Derek and a young lady, Keshron, tried to put peace. They fight or whatever. I'm in sympathy with the two families, both families on both sides. But I would like for Keshron to get bail.
Other young women believe if young men are positively engaged, this would make a difference.
We need to come out and speak against those things and them. Those things don't have to be. I don't want to see that from a village. I don't want to see that.
Me, I would say if we have like employment or something to get the youths active in, because listen, I live in a different, I'm from Guelph, grew up in Guelph, grew up in Gun Battle, and I would say like it's only Gun Battle. I would say like most of the youths more employed. You go in Central, you go in Lerito, you go out, you see the place quiet like during the day. But the only reason I would say for that is that they think Guelph, Gun Battle is the worst place.
Christina John, GBN News.
Residents of Corinth started a meeting at the community center to discuss some pressing matters, including some injustices they say they've experienced. One of their concerns is the land surrounding the Bel Air plantation. The details in this report.
Recently, residents in Corinth St. David have been clamoring for some changes in the area near the beach. Not only have they been having issues with restriction of access to the beach, but also to another area in close proximity. The residents say the owners of the Bel Air plantation have built a structure on the allowed road and are now allegedly accosting residents who use the road. According to them, a portion of the land which was sold to the owners of the plantation was left by the seller to the community for recreational activity years ago. According to the residents, a structure was built on the given plot of land and a fence was built along the roadside, preventing them from entering the land, which they say is rightfully theirs. One of the residents in the area recalled the moment when the land was sold.
There was a piece of property that the original owner of Lasuse, who was LCJ Thomas, left for the people in the community. And there are people down there now who are trying to claim it. They go so far to put a building onto it, which wasn't supposed to be. This land was left for the community people. Originally, this property belonged to the community. This is an area that we used to go on a weekend, hold with crab, with fish, with cook, and everything on the ground there. Mr. Thomas realized that we used to be there every weekend. He passed down the seeing boys cooking and enjoying themselves on the ground there. So when he sold the property, he did not sell this piece of land. He left that piece of land for the community.
The historical value of the area is one that must be preserved. A teacher in the area, Marlene Neptune, says with restrictions imposed on the land, it will now be impossible to bring students into the environment during lessons, something she has done for years.
You know the coal that they powered the ships with before, the old-time ships? Pick them up in the water over there. It's there. The clay from the town, it's still there in the water. And our children should have access to that because it's part of our history. We can walk that trail. There was over there a cannon that protected this place here. Who knows that? The Indians used to plant, our Indians, our East Indian brothers and sisters, they used to cultivate here. This was a bread basket of our community. This is ours, and if you walk the trail, you see up there the relics of the old cemetery, the relics of the old church, and all around. Mr. John would go with me, with the children. It hurts me to think that we would not have access to these areas. Development is important, but we have to balance it.
Today's meeting was held to discuss the way forward, not only on the possibility of regaining access to the land, but other issues within the area that need to be resolved. GBN made efforts to reach the owner of the plantation for comment, but was unsuccessful.
Meanwhile, recent outcries by residents in and around Corinth have prompted a response by one of the business owners in the area. Vice President of the Canadian Banknote Company, Simon Wall, who is also the owner of the Bel Air plantation property, says some of the complaints are misdirected and he is supportive of the residents.
Residents in Corinth and David recently reached out to the media over some land issues in the area. The residents previously reported that the owners of the plantation built a structure on the allowed road in the area and are now allegedly accosting residents who use the road. According to the residents, a portion of the land which was sold to the owners of the Bel Air plantation was left by the seller to the community for recreational activity years ago. However, they claimed a structure was built and a fence erected along the roadside, preventing them from entering the land which they believe is rightfully theirs. Responding to the residents' frustrations, Simon Wall, local vice president of Canadian Banknote Company and owner of the Bel Air property, says the public has always been welcome to use the beach in the area and have only ever been restricted from the housing aspect of the property, which is private.
We have made it very clear that there is no restriction on access to the property. We encourage people to use the beaches. We're actually actively encouraged, and even the swim club will tell you we have encouraged them to use the facility, the local swim club, and given them showers and toilets to use. That is the same wording on the sign that was there before, when it was 11 for the last 12 years before we owned it. It is actually standard wording, and it doesn't apply to the beaches because, of course, that's Queen's Chain. And in fact, our beaches are enjoyed every day by many, many people, and they know that the law as we do. And we respect that, and we encourage use of the property.
Wall says the fenced area referred to by the residents where the property was built does not belong to his company.
There was a fence they were talking about, and that has nothing to do with us. That is a contested piece of property which we are not involved, and we're not contesting it. Two other people are. We actually attempted to take down that fence and were prohibited by the other person's by lawyers from removing that fence, which would have made easier access to the beach. That has nothing to do with us. That's not our property, and we are not claiming that property either. No, and if you look at the fence, you can see it's at least 30 years old. And if you'll notice some parts that have been torn down, which is where we tore it down to make access easier, and then we were prevented by one of the contesting parties, not ourselves, we're not involved in that fight, stopped us from removing the rest of the fence.
He extended his support, maintaining that he shares the villagers' sentiments about preserving the history of the area.
We were actually planning to build a small museum in the front building there for school children to enjoy, to learn about the history of the area, because it does have significant history relative to Grenada.
Reporting for GBN News, Beverly Telesford.
The man who oversees the country's purse is not happy with legal judgments which have gone in favor of citizens who took government to court and won. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell says government will honor its financial commitments, but as Cherry and Blackman Stephen tells us in this report, he's not too happy about it.
Prime Minister and Minister for Finance Dr. Keith Mitchell says he does not agree with judgments handed down in the Dorset Charles and Gemma Bain Thomas cases. Speaking on the GBN's To The Point on Wednesday, Prime Minister Mitchell, when asked about the payments owed to the two individuals, held nothing back. In 1995, government bulldozed Charles Water Sports business on the Grand Dance Beach and was ordered by the court to pay the businessman $1.6 million, of which government paid $100,000. In a news conference last week, attorney for Charles Anselm Clouden said no further payment was received, and the last sum owed to Charles in 2018 was $3.4 million with interest. In that case, the nation leader says he was a squatter.
Based on the court decision, clearly there were additional resources. He was asked, and with his lawyer, present as a formula, working with the Ministry of Finance, and the follow-up was not done. So the fault was not necessarily on the Ministry of Finance, on the government, for the rest of the payment. I didn't agree with that court decision at all because he was really a squatter, but the court is a court, and I respect the decision of the court. While I don't necessarily agree with all of it, but I respect it, and therefore we act accordingly while disagreeing with the results.
In the Gemma Bain Thomas judgment, the High Court awarded the former Cabinet Secretary more than $500,000 in salaries by 2025, after being forced out of the post by the Prime Minister when he returned to office in 2013. In the case of that ruling, the Prime Minister said it's not fair.
I know they're working on a final formula. It's unfortunate because I don't think that was a deserving result at all. I think it was extremely unfortunate for the government then to have appointed somebody permanent as Cabinet Secretary. I think it was wrong fundamentally. To me, that was an immoral act. To me, I would call it a dishonest act. So the country is paying hundreds of thousands, probably more than $1 million for what a previous government did, which I think was fundamentally flawed.
Government was ordered to pay WRB more than 200 million EC dollars to buy back its majority shareholding interest in the island's sole electricity generating company. When asked about payment in the judgment handed down in the Grenada matter, Prime Minister Mitchell painted a bleak picture.
Well, we can't afford to pay anything, but we have to meet certain basic things. The Ministry of Public Utilities, headed by Minister Boyne, they are working closely with the WRB and its owners, and to work out some kind of formula.
Despite government's financial strain, Prime Minister Mitchell said he believes the end result will be far better than what exists in guiding the price of electricity. In one bill owing to the state of Grenada by former government Senator Sheldon Scott, who racked up a $70,000 phone bill while on government data plan, the Prime Minister noted that the bill remains unpaid. Cherry and Blackman Stephen, GBN News.
I'm reaching my dreams with GOT. They're the ones for me. I'm reaching my dreams with GOT. They're the ones for me. Since 1983, they've been serving the country, and we like all their financing, giving the people what they want, what they need, what they love. Come and join the family that's here for you all the way, from birth to graduation, your first job to your home and your car through your golden years.
The GT Credit Union has been actively supporting nation building through its many sponsorships and the programs including financial literacy quiz, Pass the Torch Calypso program, junior cooperatives in secondary schools, CPEA, and the TAMCC grants. The credit union has helped many people make their dreams come true. Let them help you with yours. You don't have to be a teacher to be a member. So what are you waiting for?
GUT Credit Union, it's where you belong.
Once upon a time, we shopped at Wonderland, then Neverland. But we're all grown up now and no longer believe in fairy tales. So now we just shop at Shoes R Us. At Shoes R Us, we stock the latest in shoes, tops, and jeans for the fashion-conscious lady. We also carry colognes and much, much more. And for the modern trendy male, we have the latest brand-name shoes and sneakers, Converse, Reebok, Nike, K-Swiss, Puma, and much more. So check us out at our two convenient locations, Melville Street in St. George and Ben Jones Street in Granville. At Shoes R Us, we say, come shop with us.
Are you looking for quality herbs and herbal supplements, or are you thinking about having a complete body cleanse to jumpstart your health? Then no need to look further. Visit Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center, and Natural Health Store. We carry a wide range of herbal products for kidney and gallstone cleansing, male sexual enhancement formulas, asthma and sinusitis, gas and bloating, acid reflux, constipation, arthritis, imbalanced hormones, female health issues, liver cleansing, weight loss, and so much more. Also available, colonic irrigation, holistic health consultations, essential oils, and diffusers. Look out for our online natural health store coming soon. Call 231-6642 for 18-7115 or 449-7753 to find out about our delivery options or to book an appointment. Visit us at Belmont St. George's, close to the Foliage, Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Nirvana Natural Health Clinic. Detox your way to health.
Whenever we're faced with difficulties, we find comfort in those we know and trust. This is especially true when a loved one has died.
Welcome to Otway Bailey Funeral Home.
For over 100 years, Otway Bailey Funeral Home has helped families celebrate the lives of their loved ones with compassion and dignity. Our affordability, attention to detail, warm and caring staff has contributed us being the funeral home of choice for official and state funerals. We treat you as we would treat our own family. All of our services are designed to help you get through one of the most personal and challenging stages of life, whether it's planning a funeral, joining our burial society, or pre-arrangements. You can be assured of the Otway Bailey commitment to consistently provide the most caring and professional service possible with the best options and price. So call us 440-2558 or visit our website otwaybaileyfuneralhome.org.
At Otway Bailey, we offer the perfect tribute any family can afford.
Our superheroes are all among us. They don't wear capes nor have superpowers. In fact, they appear to be quite ordinary. They are the ones who provide us with food. They are our farmers, our grocery store workers, our vendors. They are our fishermen. They are the ones who heal us, our doctors and medical practitioners. They are the ones who protect us, our police officers. They are all the other essential workers who make this period bearable. And how can we forget our teachers, dedicated to educating our children no matter the circumstance? To everyone who is doing their part to make sure the wheel keeps turning, Ariza says, thank you.
Total is one of the world's largest oil companies with a top quality line of lubricants. Total Lubricants has a full product line from passenger cars, motorcycle, heavy industrial equipment, mining, trucking, agriculture, and manufacturing machines and vehicles. Total Lubricants, winning championships in motorsports, including Formula One and World Rally Championships. Total Lubricants are available at all Rubis service stations, leading automotive shops, and distributed by Huggins.
Are you looking for quality herbs and herbal supplements? Or are you thinking about having a complete body cleanse to jumpstart your health? Then no need to look further. Visit Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center, and Natural Health Store. We carry a wide range of herbal products for kidney and gallstone cleansing, male sexual enhancement formulas, asthma and sinusitis, gas and bloating, acid reflux, constipation, arthritis, imbalanced hormones, female health issues, liver cleansing, weight loss, and so much more. Also available, colonic irrigation, holistic health consultations, essential oils, and diffusers. Look out for our online natural health store coming soon. Call 231-6642 418-7115 or 449-7753 to find out about our delivery options or to book an appointment. Visit us at Belmont St. George's, close to the Foliage, Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Nirvana Natural Health Clinic. Detox your way to health.
How going on, boy?
Hey, good old things.
Hey, Daisy.
Yeah.
Boy, in line, boy. Your house looking a real good day.
Boy, it's thanks to the hard-working and professional staff at the Housing Authority of Grenada. They handled me real nice. They did my plan, they did the construction, and I didn't even have to worry about a thing. They were there with me every step of the way, supervising the job, asking me about my concerns, giving me feedback as the house took shape. They were there from start to finish, and even put the keys in the palm of my hand. I give them an A++ for customer service.
Oh, it's people from housing bad, boy.
Boy, not bad. Excellent. If you're thinking about constructing your home, why not consult the Housing Authority of Grenada? You could visit them right down in the Sandino complex or give them a call, 440-1015 or 440-1016. Or check out their website, hag473.com. They go handle you. They go jog your blocks, they go draw your plan, they go tote your materials. Hey man, where you going? The Housing Authority of Grenada is your choice for affordable housing and a stress-free construction experience.
need to know about self-isolation. Stay home. If you are told to self-isolate, it means staying at home, not going to work, school, or other public places, and you should not have any visitors. Separate yourself. If you live with others, then you need to stay in a well-ventilated bedroom with the door shut. If you have to share a bathroom, then use it after everyone else. Don't share towels and toiletries, as this may put others at risk. Call ahead. If you develop symptoms such as a fever or cough, then seek advice first by calling the Ministry of Health's hotline at 538-4787 or 458-4787. Please do not show up at a medical center or hospital, as this may put others at risk. Take care with waste. If you test positive, your waste should be double bagged and disposed of separately. Create a buddy system. If you live on your own, you can plan with friends and family to check in with each other and run essential errands if one becomes sick. Once sick, they should leave groceries on the doorstep. Why it's important. COVID-19 causes a mild illness for 4 out of 5 persons. Self-isolating will help protect the older generation and those who may have underlying health problems from getting infected.
The following are a list of food items to have on hand amidst COVID-19. Perishables like vegetables, fruits, provisions, and eggs. You are advised to stock perishable items to last up to 2 weeks. Non-perishable items including dry goods like cereals, flour, cornmeal, oats, rice, pasta, nuts and nut butters like peanut butter, crackers, canned or frozen meats, ready-to-eat canned meats, powdered or canned milk, dried peas and beans, canned fruits in natural juices, 100% canned fruit juices, and canned vegetables. You can stock non-perishable food items to last up to 1 month. Store bottled or clean drinking water, 1 gallon or more per day per person. If you suffer from a medical condition, have prescribed medications on hand. A message from the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council as we battle COVID-19.
GBN Television News at 7, a pulse on all things Grenadian. Look out for our new features through expanded synergies with our media partners in Barbados, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad, and beyond. Capturing the latest in news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Credible, informative. Thank you for making us number 1. News at 7, live, Monday to Friday on GBN Television, Channel 7 and 11. K105.5 and 105.9, Hot 98.5 and 98.7, GBN Television Facebook page and YouTube channel, and www.gbn.gd. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere.
Back with Good Morning Grenada. Thank you to those of you who stuck with us, those of you just joining. Better late than never, but you're just in time for this morning's discussion here this morning. It's Mouth Off Monday, but we're going to mouth off in a different kind of way. Over the weekend, there has been the circulation of a document as it relates, or title I should say, the COVID-19 Control Bill. And that bill has generated lots of discussions in the public domain, with many Grenadians speaking out and basically saying, no, we ain't want it. Since then, the government has announced that the bill, while they have been preparing to take it to Parliament this week, Wednesday to be specific, they have decided to withdraw it and there's not be tabled this Wednesday. And they have said they would return to the drawing board to hold further discussions on the bill. Nevertheless, I think it's still prudent that we start or continue the discussion as it relates to the bill because it has been kicking up so much storm. It has prompted a number of people or a number of groups to come together to say we will be holding protests to show the government that we are not going to take this one sitting down. And one of the protests that has been scheduled, and I believe it is still taking place, has been organized by a group of young people. And I am very pleased to see that there are young people actually taking charge and letting their voices be heard. And I'm joined by them this morning, 3 activists, as I call them, Joel Greenidge, Michelle Alexander, Cassandra Mitchell, and they are our guests this morning. And they're going to tell us a bit more about what about this bill that they are not okay with, that they've decided to come together and lead a protest. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, Blossom. How are you doing?
I'm great this morning, and thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. Appreciate it. So we're going to start from, well, should I say from the top? We're going to start with your views on the bill. Since the conversation started, the 3 of you have been 3 voices that have come out and spoken up and saying this can't go forward, let's hold a protest. What about this bill that spurred the 3 of you into action to say we can't do this?
Maybe I should start. Whilst we understand the need for procedures, protocol, safety for all, we understand that, and I think we appreciate that. However, what we don't understand was the rush to implement this bill, and also, although there are certain parts of the bill, to be fair, there are certain parts of the bill that is okay, but there are certain parts you could see is just a flaw. For example, as it relates to the charge, which states that anyone who comes into violation will have to pay $25,000. That to me was very alarming, considering the fact that most Grenadians, we don't work for $25,000, not even a year. So that in itself, in terms of the charges, that was very outlandish, if that's a word to use here. And also to the power that was given to the police officers, knowing that the RGPF is not an independent body. So that was very, very, very alarming. And also when the Prime Minister spoke about the vaccine, that the bill would be, well, it would be enacted until we get a vaccine, until such time. There is no guarantee that we will get a vaccine anytime soon. And also no consultation was held in terms of the pros and the cons of the vaccine. So what we believe is that there should have been some level of consultation before the rush to enact or to go to Parliament with such a bill that would affect the whole of society.
And before we go in, for those of you who may not have been aware, the bill is called the Coronavirus Disease COVID-19 Control Bill 2020. According to the document, it would be in place for a period of 1 year with the view of having it enacted by the 15th, I believe, of next month, God willing. And it seeks to, according to the document, it seeks to regulate the containment of the spread of the COVID-19 in the interest of public safety, public order, public health, and for the maintenance of a substantial portion of the community and supplies and services essential to the life of the community of the state. It is part of efforts to control and contain the spread of COVID-19, and among other things, the legislation provides for a maximum penalty of $25,000 in a magistrate's court for any person who is found guilty of or violating any section of the legislation. Hopefully that has explained it a little bit to those of you who may not have been aware of what the bill contains, just a little portion. So let me ask the 3 of you. Yesterday afternoon, on the Government Information Service's Facebook page, they announced that government will not table the bill on Wednesday, God willing. However, are you still going ahead with the protests? And if you are, why do you think it's necessary to go forward with that plan?
Cassandra, you want to answer? Should I go ahead?
I think over the years, what has happened with the citizens is that we have lost, especially young people, we have lost trust in our administrations, be it this administration or past administrations. So while, yes, we appreciate the press release, there is still a level of mistrust in terms of what exactly is the government plan. because when you read through the press release, it states that they did meet with stakeholders. My question is, which stakeholders did they meet with? Because the Bar Association allegedly claimed that they have never seen the draft. As is customary normally when government does drafts like these, it's circulated. Even with civil society, which I'm a member of, we have never seen the draft prior to over the weekend when one of our media houses released a copy of it. We have never seen the bill. So I read the press release. While I appreciate government's decision to step back, there's still a level of mistrust, because this is something that should have been brought to the people, consulted with the people, different stakeholders. This bill is going to affect not just us as citizens, but the business sector, civil society. So that's why we're proceeding with the march. We want to let them know that we're still looking on, we're still paying attention to what they're doing, especially now, given that we are in a state of emergency where some of our fundamental rights and freedoms have been voluntarily or maybe forcefully taken from us. We have to pay attention to what the powers that be do with those rights and ensure that as a people, we are not taken advantage of.
What time is the protest and where?
Michelle?
8:30, but we're trying to meet for 8 at the ministerial complex.
The lower level, the entrance or the top entrance where the PM passes?
Well, I think we meet at the lower entrance. Wanted to really target the cabinet members because they are the ones who we put there to represent our interests. And as Cassandra said, we felt as if our rights were taken away at the expense of COVID-19. I think what could have been done is maybe try to strengthen the bills that were already there, because what was there, it was working. Because I remember about a week ago, the Prime Minister as well as the Minister of Health, they were tapping their shoulders as it relates to the success of managing the spread of COVID-19. We don't have any cases. There wasn't any death. So why is the need to implement such a harsh act? Why? That's just how we feel, and we think that we should not let our guards down. And because the bill was delayed, it wasn't dismissed. So I still think we need to be very much vigilant and aware and awoken.
Over the weekend, during all the discussions, I have seen posts that basically say this bill is to help protect us as Grenadians, especially as we're reopening the borders. What is the big deal with this whole bill and why we had to have protests? That's what some people are saying. Go ahead.
But protection at what cost? Yes, as I said earlier, we understand the need for protocol regulations and policies, but there should not be any protection in place that would take away our rights. Why should we sit and allow for police to come into our house without a warrant, have this so much stringent laws? No, we can't accept that. They need to meet us on the half. Whilst we understand that we need to be responsible, you can't take our rights away from us. That's not accepted.
And Blossom, when you look at certain portions of the legislation, the draft legislation, the first thing that stood out to me as an advocate and a member of a grouping of civil society was Section 25 of the draft bill. From the initial start of the state of emergency, civil society have been paying particular attention to what has been going on. I remember pointing out that there are some levels of illegality to the state of emergency, and a lot of individuals were fighting back when I brought it to the forefront, including members of the Bar Association, stating that this was not normal times, that they understand certain protocols were broken by the administration. So from then, we have been paying particular attention. And Section 25 seeks to expand the power of the cabinet. And all of those little things are what's raising our eyebrows. Why would you want to do that? If there is no community spread, why are you trying to give cabinet so much power? Section 17 of the Constitution already outlines how a state of emergency should be handled, who is in charge in a state of emergency. It defines what a state of emergency is. Two scenarios in which a state of emergency can be defined. but I noticed that the draft legislation referred to Section 62(1) of the Constitution. But Section 62 of the Constitution has no application in regards to a state of emergency. It just addresses the composition of the executive and the Governor General's constitutive role for certain offices, and not the emergency powers that are handed over to her by the Constitution, not by me, not by the Cabinet, but by the Constitution of Grenada. And little things like that raises my eyebrows when you read the legislation. Like Michelle said, where we understand that the administration has a responsibility to protect us as the people, as we have mandated them to. Some portions of the legislations are, to say, draconian. And that's what bothers me. Why so much power has been handed over to different entities of the legislation, of the executive, of the government, and some of these things will infringe on our fundamental rights.
Joel, I haven't heard from you. Let me bring you into the conversation. Since government said they would not table it in Parliament on Wednesday, that they would go back to the drawing board, a lot of people were thinking, well, they've put the cart before the horse because they should have done that prior to drafting and getting ready to table it. What do you think about the entire situation and how the process has unfolded?
Over the years, based on the approach of this government, it has never been one of engaging and consulting the people, especially the youths of the country. We represent the largest demographics in our society, and we would be the ones mostly affected by this bill, I would say, and even the poor set of people would be affected. As it was evident during the lockdown period, where you saw so many young people receiving tickets. Over 100 tickets. The RGPF was boasting about, handing out tickets was like an accomplishment, right? Considering the economic times that we are faced with, considering the level of stress and frustration of our young people, I see these stringent laws, once enacted, will further lengthen that frustration and result in unintended consequences for the society. While Grenadians understand the need to commit and to protect ourselves and our families against this invisible enemy, I believe the regulations that as it is has worked very well. We have done very well during this COVID-19 crisis to really contain community spread. I understand that our borders are opening up and the government, is seeking to further ensure that the virus does not spread. But I think what we need to focus on in terms of if we had to add additional regulations is more to beef up our surveillance and screening and testing on our borders. I don't see the need for this bill to be tabled in Parliament. You understand? I think from my personal perspective, I think there's an ulterior motive. When I look at this bill, it seeks to trample on the fundamental rights of our citizens. And when you give the Minister of Health the power to determine which businesses open, which business close, which business pass and can pass meets the requirements, and which business are approved from the health authorities in consultation with the CMO, I think you're giving him a lot of power. That's a lot of power, because basically you could tell the Minister of Health can get up tomorrow and say your business cannot be open because it does not meet the requirement, or the Minister of Health can get up one day and say, you know what, we are closing down this business because you violated the protocol, even if it may not be a genuine case. And the fact that he is a business person himself and he has competitors, that is treading on very dangerous waters, right? I don't think that level of power should be bestowed on the Minister of Health. We understand that the whole issue of politics in Grenada is very politicized, is politics in everything that happens in the society. And given the Minister of Health that level of power, you can see a lot of businesses who may not support that political party that he's part of can find themselves in very, very serious situation, uncomfortable situations, right? And we don't want to create that sort of environment. So I think this bill, in my opinion, should go back to the table. Or I think the current regulations as it is should be strengthened and beefed up, really to focus mostly on our port of entry. But in terms of this bill, I think it should be scrapped entirely, because it really seeks to trample on the rights of our people. And at this time, I think Grenadians should really hold on strongly to their constitutional rights, especially the fact that the powers that this law would seek to give to the police. And if you look at the part where a police or customs officer, immigration officers having any reason to believe that you may have COVID could actually have you removed from an environment, or have you to take a test. I mean, all these different things. These people are not equipped with medical training. I mean, it's just a lot of things about the bill that is just unconstitutional, in my opinion, and just violates the rights of our people. So I think it should be scrapped entirely, and the current regulations that we currently have, we should look to see how we can actually expand on it and strengthen it. To have a legislation in place like that for a year, in my opinion, there's no guarantee within a year we are going to find a vaccine. So what I'm saying, if a vaccine is not found within a year, are you telling me that we will continue to be under state of emergency? If a vaccine is found in 10 years, we will continue to be under this legislation for 10 years? I mean, that would be unbelievable, in my opinion, unbelievable. I don't think we would be able to really sustain that, and our people would be able to sustain that.
I know you need to...
If you look,
go ahead.
Section 14.2 of the legislation, which gives a public health officer the authority, on advice of the health minister, to install surveillance apps on your phone. How constitutional is that? And all of those little things, and I want to bring it up to the attention of the public, especially those who did not take the time to read the 33 pages bill. These are things that concern us as young people. Like Joel said, you have a health official, a public health official, or a police officer who suspects, without training, that you may be COVID positive, and decide that they're going to place an app on your phone. And so we need to have to relook the bill. I've gone through it several times. I will continue to go through it and tie it into the relevant aspect of the Constitution, but there are aspects of it that are unconstitutional. What I didn't hear him myself, I know that our AG was on another medium this morning trying to justify the legislation. And these are the things that, again, raise mistrust in the people, because while the government issued a press release, quote unquote, apologizing for not consulting with us, here you have the Attorney General representing the government side on another medium, literally justifying the contents of the bill. And that is why we have to keep the pressure on. We have to let this administration, any administration, knows that we are paying attention.
Ladies, I know you have to go and prepare for the protest, but before you go, let me hear. They've said they're going to go back to the drawing board, basically. What are you hoping would come out of the revising of the legislation, if there is a revision, that is? What are you hoping would come out of that returning to the drawing board? Are you hoping it'll be scrapped? Are you hoping there are portions that are changed? What are you hoping?
To be honest, I'm hoping that it is scrapped, and what they look to do is improve what's already in place. Now, another thing before I leave, we need to understand as Grenadians that this is not a political issue. It is a constitutional issue. It means that it will affect each and every one of us, and not just us as individuals that are here today, but it would also have a direct effect on the lives of our children and the lives of our grandchildren. So when we think about these things, we need to look at the whole and not just some of its parts and be blinded by our political loyalty to put it. We need to put country first and put color politics after. This is something that will affect us all, and we all need to take a stand. Yes, I understand that the government released a statement saying that they would go back to the drawing board, they would do this, they would do that, they would do the other. But if they considered the population at length before they did what they did, it would not have reached to that point. So how do we trust you now to believe that you would really go back and implement these changes when you didn't consider us in the beginning?
Cassandra?
For me, what I would like to see is more consultation with stakeholders. But like Joel said, I think the history of this administration speaks loudly. Over the years, even being a member of civil society, a lot of the times we feel that we are just a rubber stamp for administrations to get access to monies, to grants, to loans. And that has been a serious issue. I don't think the consultation is actually a consultation. And I speak from experience. Many times from a civil society perspective, we will sit in forums and quote unquote consultations and give suggestions. And these suggestions are rejected by the administration. And we have seen it with the budget. When we make recommendations to the government of Grenada, they will send it back. And when you look at the budget document, many of the things that we recommended are not included. And they wait a day before the deadline and they submit something to you that's 40 pages long, so that they know that it's impossible to peruse the entire document. So I think the history of this administration speaks for itself. But what I would like to see is some genuine consultation with stakeholders, with the private sector, with civil society, the unions, as to how this bill is going to affect us. Another suggestion that they could take on board, as Michelle said, is to scrap the entire bill and work with the regulations that do exist. And while their justification is that the borders are reopening, then maybe the emphasis should be on just boosting up the regulations that would guide and protect the borders. And because most of the cases that we have thus far have been imported. So maybe emphasis should be placed on that instead of trying to take away the fundamental rights of the people who put you in power and that you're supposed to be representing. So that is a suggestion that they can also take into consideration.
Joel, you were going to say something before Michelle started. Yeah, ladies, if you need to leave, I would understand, because I know you have to get ready for the protest. Joel is a little bit closer, so you can spend more time with us. So yes, Joel, go ahead.
Yeah, I think if we allow this to just slip through, this would be setting a very dangerous precedent. You know, regardless, it's a crisis time. The constitutional rights of our citizen must also be protected, because you see, if you give cabinet that level of power now, if you give the government the opportunity to just violate your rights now, then for future reference, similar situation can happen. The government can just get up to say that there is a threat or there's a perceived threat, and we need to enact a state of emergency laws that are very stringent, that are draconian laws, in the name of protecting the people. And basically we just give cabinet that level of power, and with that level of power, we understand what can possibly happen. The rights of citizens can be abused, people can be targeted, businesses can be targeted, people, and even with this current bill, it's restricting the movement of people. I mean, again, that's a right that is enshrined within your constitution. Even the right to privacy, they can instill on your phone an app to track you. You know, even police enter in your place without a warrant. And I guess, considering the political environment, you could just find yourself writing a post on social media or doing a live to address an issues. Next morning, you get a police at your door tell you that someone stated that you have COVID, or they find some sort of reason to remove you from your environment, or to take your phone, or to invade. I mean, all these different things. If you allow these things to just happen and you give a government that level of power, it's like you taking away your rights, and I mean, there could be a level of abuse of that power. So
I also want to emphasize, Joel, that I think that there's a misunderstanding. With all due respect to the Attorney General, the Parliament cannot give power to the cabinet in a case of an emergency situation, a state of emergency that guides an island, right? In this case, Grenada. I've noticed over and over that they're saying that the Governor General on advice of the cabinet, but that's not what the Constitution says. Section 17 of the Constitution gives emergency powers to the Governor General of Grenada. And this legislation is technically passing a law that's going to give cabinet power. And that is concerning. That is very, very concerning for us. And that's why I keep saying that certain sections and portions of the legislations are unconstitutional. If you read the Constitution sets up how a state of emergency should be handled, who has the emergency powers. Yes, I understand that cabinet is responsible for making and revoking and amending regulations, but to pass a law that gave them power is unconstitutional. And I don't understand why the Attorney General is trying to justify these portions of the law. The Constitution is a supreme law, and no law that you pass in the Parliament can supersede the Constitution. So handing over powers to the cabinet will make this whole state of emergency illegal. And I think I heard Richie mention it yesterday on another medium, that cases brought before the court after this can be thrown out. A lot of people can sue the government. How does the government know that? Because you're taking fundamental rights from individuals on an illegal basis. And I listen to the argument and it makes no sense, because the Constitution is very clear as to who has emergency powers during a state of emergency. And I really want to emphasize that.
But Cassandra, as you made that point, I was reading a lawyer gave a perspective, I think it was a regional lawyer. And based on the state of emergency from the beginning of this crisis, it was the Prime Minister who announced the state of emergency. But I was understanding from that attorney that it was supposed to be the Governor General who was supposed to. Yeah, so what he was basically, he was saying that all the fines and all the arrests and stuff that was made during that lockdown period was actually unconstitutional.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was a total violation of the constitutional rights of the person, because the Prime Minister does not have the authority, or cabinet does not have the authority to announce a state of emergency. It must come from the Governor General office. So therefore, all these incidents, all these arrests, all these tickets that was issued to people during the lockdown period, the whole state of emergency was unconstitutional. So you see,
I've been trying to draw that to the attention of stakeholders, including members of the Bar Association, who behind closed doors admitted to me, yes, certain protocols may have been broken, but we are not living in normal times. And my response is, but the Constitution clearly foresaw, whoever wrote it, that somewhere along the line, our island, our state, would have a state of emergency. So therefore, he prepared for that. So he gave you protocols that must be followed. And he clearly states who has the authority and emergency powers in a state of emergency. Like I said yesterday, I haven't seen the Governor General. As the Prime Minister came on, he proclaimed and declared a state of emergency, and all the Governor General did was sign the document. And people take offense when I say it, but that's what happened. She was not in the public. At one point, I was almost tempted to write to Her Majesty to say, where is your representative? Because we have a state of emergency and she's nowhere to be found. And that is just that reality, and people are getting offended when I say that. But the Constitution speaks. I'm not the one saying it. The Constitution says so.
And that is the problem we have in the absence of human rights organizations in a country, right? And the fact that our people are not guardian of our own democracy. You have these things happening. I looked at how Jamaica handled their state of emergency. And the Prime Minister, Mr. Holness, said he was very cautious in how he approached this, because he did not want to violate the constitutional rights of the citizen. Jamaica, once they followed the right procedure, they went to Parliament in the midst of this whole COVID-19, using all the necessary protocol, and make sure that they went through the correct channels, right? Because there was a lot of human rights organization in Jamaica that was really speaking out. They were very vibrant, they were very dynamic, and they were holding the government to the task. They ensure, while we understand there's a state of emergency and the need to protect our people, and protect the state, we must also protect the rights of our people. And they went through the proper channel. And I've seen how state of emergency had happened in many other different countries. And even though they implemented a state of emergency, they did it in such a way that it did not violate the rights of our people, because the constitutional rights of people is very important. I understand that there were restrictions of movements. We understand that. And Grenada was very accommodating during the whole situation, and hence the reason we were able to contain the spread. We were able to manage the disease, and we were able to get to a place of 0 cases, right? So if that has worked, and we have got to that place, I don't understand the need to further not lessen or ease the restriction, but to make it more fierce and aggressive. That regulations, in my opinion, is very aggressive. When you reach it, you feel that sense of aggression and manipulation and a sort of dictatorship kind of approach to controlling the people. And in my opinion, I have concern with that. And as I stated, we can strengthen the regulations to ensure that all our ports of entry, that we beefed up our surveillance, we beefed up our screening, we could have protocol in terms of testing, quarantine, and all these different things. That is good, right? That is good. But in terms of further applying that level of pressure on our people, in my opinion, that can lead to unintended consequences. And in the absence of psychosocial support, considering the fact that our people are already frustrated and stressed, right? That further abuse of power, right, can really lead to a retaliation from the public against the police and all of these things. And we heard about the incident that happened in Guelph. When you give police the right to just come into your property without a warrant, look at what happened. A young man was shot in his thigh by a police officer. So the persons who are out there are saying, "Oh, we have to protect it. The government needs to do this." If you or your family becomes a victim to that level of abuse of power, when you give people that level of power, they already have 15 seats. Could you imagine empowering a minister or government with that level of power now, when they already have all that power? You will move away from a democratic society to more dictatorship, a more autocratic sort of leadership approach. And we don't want to have that in our country. We want to ensure that democracy survive, and we want to ensure that our people's rights are respected and protected, and while we all work together collectively to defeat this invisible enemy and to rebuild our economy and to rebuild our communities. And as young people, we reject the approach of this government. We reject this bill, and we want this bill to be totally scrapped and continue to use the current regulations. I know yesterday, Cassandra made a point that the Constitution gave a 6-month period in which a state of emergency
can. Section 17(5) of the Constitution says that no state of emergency shall exceed 6 months. So here you are proposing a state of emergency for 12 months, and still for our Attorney General is saying that it's not unconstitutional. The Constitution says for a period of 6 months, after which another resolution from Parliament has to be passed. And then, of course, they have to revisit the regulations and look at the situations and the factors involved. And then they may decide to extend it for a further 6 months. But it cannot exceed 6 months as per the Constitution, Section 17(5).
So these are the things that we are talking about. When the people who are in position to represent our interests and to protect our fundamental rights know better, but they're doing contrary, it lends to one wondering what is the ulterior motive. Is these draconian laws being handed down to our powers that be as part of a bigger agenda? Is it really about COVID-19? Because if you look at this bill, it infringes on the fundamental rights of people in so many, freedom of movement, in terms of restricting the freedom of movement, the whole aspect of privacy, right? You have the whole aspect of freedom of assembly, because now the minister of health can say less than 20 people. So imagine you're having an event and your event is 25 people. You can't have that event. So could you think about the aspect of our society that would continue to be affected? Our churches, community, sport and discipline, every aspect of our country's businesses, how they operate. The entertainment sector in the country will continue to be operated. The local businesses will continue to be affected. And that has to go on for a very long time. So think about the economic impact it would have on people. Think about the psychological impact it would have on our people, considering the fact that we are a sociable kind of society. So those level of restrictions, in my opinion, if it continues being so stringent, considering the level of emotional stress and frustration and depression and suicide that we are currently experiencing, I foresee that these things will continue to get worse. And with the absence of psychosocial support coming from the Ministry of Social Development, or programs that are geared to deal with the level of frustration and stress of our youth, we are treading on very dangerous waters, in my opinion.
I want to thank the three of you so much for sharing with us this morning. I know Michelle has run off to join the protest. Cassandra and Joel, I know you're heading there as well. I'm getting a lot of kudos on the social media for the three of you as young people and standing up, letting your voices be heard, leading from the front. A lot of people are saying thank you, good job, and keep it up. And I want to echo those sentiments as well, knowing that, to me, Grenada is in good hands with the young people leading the charge and speaking out against things that would affect the wider population. Thank you guys very much for the job you're doing. Keep it up.
Appreciate it, Blossom, and thanks to your listeners and viewers.
Thank you very much. Cassandra, thank you so much for joining us. Continue doing what you guys are doing. The protest, everybody can join the protest, yes? It starts at 8:30?
Yeah, yes. Everyone can join the protest. And we're encouraging all the youths out there to come on board with the protest. We would not be sidetracked. We would not allow these tactics by our government to allow us to lose that momentum. We are building a very vibrant and dynamic youth movement. And I'm foreseeing that this movement will continue to grow in numbers, and so many other young people are coming on board or reaching in us. They want to be part of what we are doing. They're inspired by what we are doing. And we extend that to our country, rebuild our country going forward.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much, and do what you need to continue to let your voices be heard. I'll see if I can pass. What time do you think the protest would end? You're going on till
answer that question?
You're going on till you get tired?
Well, we cannot go into with the flow, but maybe a maximum of 2 hours. I know some people have other things and commitments and they may want to get done today. So maybe 2 hours, as long as we are certain that we have gotten the attention of the powers that be. So just a reminder for those coming out, please remember to wear your mask, walk with hand sanitizers, and let us try to practice the physical distance.
Thank you very much. Have yourselves a good, productive day and a good, productive protest. Joel, tomorrow, God willing, I know you will be a guest on To The Point, and we'll definitely continue the discussion there.
All right, no problem, Blossom.
Right. Thank you very much.
Keep up a good job yourself, and thanks for having us. We appreciate it deeply.
Thank you. I appreciate your time as well. Have a good one.
You too.
3 activists, the young people, Michelle Alexander, Joel Greenidge, and Cassandra Mitchell. They're our guests this morning as we continue to speak out and out about the COVID-19 control bill. Tomorrow, God willing, on To The Point, Joel is expected to be our guest, and we will continue the discussion from a national perspective, not just on the bill, but everything that would affect young people, the country at large. So stay tuned for that tomorrow, God willing. It's time to end the program this morning. I think the BBC is just about to end. It's too late to join the broadcast, but I think matters of national importance need to be heard and discussed. And thank you guys so much for participating, for tuning in. Let's get ready now to go to the break and end the program. Have yourselves a productive Monday. Those of you heading to the protest, remember there are still protocols in place: hand sanitizers, masks, 6-foot social distancing if you are participating. Have yourselves a productive Monday. My name is Blossom. Goodbye.
Exemption for those islands.